This is episode 2 of the Remix Your World podcast with Russell Roybal. Welcome to Remix Your World. I'm Allison Calagna, global DJ and music producer turned life remixer and personal growth coach. In each episode, we bring you real talk, inspiring stories, and heartfelt conversations of personal transformation to help you uplift and amplify your life. This is the Remix Your World podcast. What's up, world? Welcome to episode 2. I am Allison Calagna, and you are listening to the Remix Your World podcast. I'm ridiculously excited to introduce my guest for you today on the show. I've had some unbelievable conversations with him on and off the dance floor, and he's very near and dear to my heart. And if you are any way, shape, or form connected to me musically, or you travel the country doing circuit parties, you most likely know who Russell Roybal is, or as some of the people like to call him, Miss Circuit Supreme. Just a heads up, you will hear me talk a lot about meditation. If it is something that you are interested in and you're looking for a way to kind of deepen your practice or maybe even begin a meditation practice, I have an exclusive offer for you. I have something that I produced called the Mindful Mixtape, which has got 5 guided meditations led by me, all put to music. So if you're interested in downloading this, text the words meditate now, all one word, to 44222, and I will send that Mindful Mixtape to you right away. You can also find it on remixyourworld.com.
Yo, check this out.
Russell Roybal is Chief Advancement Officer of San Francisco AIDS Foundation and works alongside the organization's development, marketing, and communications and AIDS LifeCycle teams. He leads the fundraising, communications, and branding efforts that resource the organization's programmatic efforts and advance the mission of the foundation. Previously, Roybal was the National LGBTQ Task Force Deputy Executive Director. The task force advances full freedom, justice, and equality for LGBTQ people. Roybal has served on the staff of the Gill Foundation, the National Latina and Latino LGBT Organization, the San Diego LGBT Center, and San Diego Pride. He was honored by the California LGBT Legislative Caucus as a Pride Honoree in 2017 and was named Grand Marshal of the San Diego LGBT Pride celebration the same year. He is also a recipient of the Harvey Milk Equality Award, the Julio Sarria Civil Rights Award, and was the inaugural recipient of the League of the United Latin American Citizens Equality Award. His activism is rooted in his family's tradition of public service and pursuit of social justice. Roybal was born in Hollywood and grew up in La Puente, California. When not working, you can find him underwater, scuba diving, or living his life on the dance floor.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
So excited.
Circuit Supreme is in the building.
Well, you know, she tries.
All right, well, welcome. No stranger. You know how much I love you and I love our conversations, especially.
I love and adore you.
Yes, and our conversations in Mexico, which was really close for us, and our Yardbird conversation. So that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because we always have really good talks.
Yep.
So we're just going to jump on in because everybody gets the same questions, but nobody has the same answers. So
great. Well, I would hope not.
Are you ready to play?
I am. I'm so ready.
So let's rewind the record. Where does the journey that has brought you to where you are today begin?
That is a great question. I mean, I thought a lot about this in the different practices or trainings or leadership development stuff I've been in. And I mean, I guess so let me start at the present. So I don't ever want to be at a place where I can't be my full self, whether that's at work, at home, like playing, like playtime or whatever it is, fun time. I always want to be all of who I am, wherever I'm at. And it has been a struggle sometimes to find those places, in particular in my professional life. But when I finally got to a place where I felt all of that, I never wanted to go back. And I wanted to be all of who I was, all of the time. And that was it was hard to get there, because as much as people may sometimes say that they want you to be exactly who you are, my experience is a lot of them don't mean it. They want you to be exactly who you are, whatever they're comfortable with. And so, I mean, I'm outrageous. I'm loud. I'm super queer. I'm Chicano. I'm all of these things. I come from a working class background. I love to dance, as you know and have seen. But I like to be all of those things and be outrageous and, put on a dress if I want to put on a dress and lip sync to Whitney Houston, which I just did a couple of weeks ago, and I've made the most tips. I'll send you the video. Or like be at the witcher party on the beach and wear a giant hat and like just be there and having fun with friends and chosen family. And I think I've always been an extrovert, although I do like spending a lot of time by myself. But I think the thing that has been really interesting to me has been like where that comes from, as I like kind of dig deep around that is, growing up, I always noticed when people were shamed or called out or ridiculed because they were a little different. And when, part of the thing that drives my passion around working in LGBTQ rights or working in HIV is that it is important to me to create spaces where people can be exactly who they want to be. Yeah. And that should be celebrated. And I think that having been told since, I can't remember a day growing up in school that I didn't get called a fag. Like I've never been able to hide who I am. People are like, well, why can't you just act straight? Or why can't you just like tone it down? Like, well, I can't. That's not me. My voice has always been high, right? I've always had a little swish in my walk. But that's just who I am. And, when I finally was able to have a platform for all of that, I thought to myself, I'm going to be as outrageous and as queer as I can be, because I want to create room for other people to be exactly who it is that they want to be. And in doing that, I have liberated myself and the way that I think about myself, the way that I operate in the world, because, not only is it me trying to create space for other people to be exactly who they are, but for me, it's been who I am and to kind of embrace and love all of that about myself, which, it took some time to get there. I didn't always think that. And, just in my own journey to where I'm at now, I needed to be in that place and for others to push that and to encourage me and to say that I could do the things that I never thought I could do. I live in San Francisco now. I work at an amazing agency called San Francisco AIDS Foundation. I worked at an amazing place called the National LGBTQ Task Force, where I was deputy executive director. I ran one of the best parties in the world. And the most amazing conference in the US called Creating Change, the party being Winter Party. And I can't imagine not doing any of those things, not being myself.
Yeah.
So,
that's beautiful. Can you think of a time when there was maybe a breakdown before that all happened before you realized, wow, I got to remix something's not right. And I really need to change directions.
Oh, sure. I thought I was going to work at a university the rest of my life, that I was that I was on a track to work in higher education, and that I'd work in student activities or housing and residential life. And I went to this training in 1995 that the task force put on. It was the very first youth leadership training that they did. I was 23, and they selected 25 people from all over the country to come. And that week, out of the thousands of applicants, and that week literally transformed my life. Like it remixed my life in a way that I will be forever and eternally grateful to the task force for creating that opportunity for me. I was with 24 other young activists who I was like, for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like I was, different. I felt like I was unique, and that uniqueness should be celebrated. It is where I had come out already, but it is where really I transformed or remixed my own identity around being queer. And that how much more expansive to me the identification of being queer was to just being gay. And I know that sounds weird, right? Like for people like, well, what do you mean with just being gay? But to me, it was this it just transformed the way I thought of myself and the way that I saw myself in the world. And it made me want to do this work. Like I realized in that week that I could dedicate my life. Like I felt a calling. Like I really felt a calling, and that I could dedicate myself to my life to this work, and that I could make a career of it. And I have, and I've never looked back. And that I will forever be grateful for that week. In fact, right, I keep a picture on my desk, and I have ever since 1995 of my cohort from that week. And it has been with me ever since then. And it reminds me every day why I do this work.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, what is bizarre. It's amazing to hear you talk about this, about the queerness, because you are the one who helps me to see my queerness from our conversation. And cause I remember it was you, Alex, and I having turkey burgers back in the day, and when I was eating turkey burgers and yard birds. And I was like, talk to me about the Q, tell me. And the way that you described it and your definition of it, I went home and I was like, oh my God, I'm fucking queer. This finally makes sense for me, because lesbian never resonated. I always felt gay because I'm such a gay boy, and then finally this was wow, so this is huge. So it's amazing to hear you talk about that opening and how just in our conversation that opened me, so imagine I know all the other people that you've opened. So that's just really cool to see that.
Well, I think that's so important, right? For us to share our stories, to share how we get to the place that we are, and how we identify and why that's important. And, I was Grand Marshal of San Diego Pride this last summer. And somebody asked me well, don't you wish we didn't have to have Pride anymore? And I was like, hell no. I want to have Pride every day. I don't want to be isolated to this one time a year where we can be our unique, queer, and fabulous selves and it be celebrated. We should be celebrating all year long who we are. And I don't ever want something like that to go away. I don't ever want to assimilate. To me, the goal is not to be like everyone else. The goal is to be exactly who you are, no matter who anyone else is. And I think that, there's often this push, we just want what everybody else wants. We want to be like everybody else. I think we should have equity. I think we should have equality. I think all of those things. But I don't think it means giving up the uniqueness of who we are as a people and the uniqueness of who we are as a person, whatever that is.
Yeah, beautiful. So you speak about the cohort. So obviously they were allies for you in that moment. Who else have been some pretty transformational allies for you around this journey?
My family certainly has. I mean, I've not experienced necessarily the negativity or rejection or isolation that I think other friends that have. But it was hard. It wasn't easy. I told my grandmother was the one I was most worried about telling. She's the matriarch, the leader of our family. And I told my mom, but I hadn't really told anybody else. And I was at home for like Easter, right? Way to celebrate the resurrection. And so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my aunt, who was like my cool aunt, right? Like she had gay friends. And so I was like, oh, I could tell her and she'll be cool with it. I told her, she gets up and she's like, we got to tell your grandmother. Goes and gets my grandmother and brings her back in the room and is like, tell her. And I was like, oh. So I told my grandmother, and literally the first words out of my grandmother's mouth were that I was going to die of AIDS. And it was like a stake through my heart. Like it would, I never raised my voice to my grandmother. I was like, that's ignorant. I can't believe you're saying something like that. And we kind of had a back and forth about it. And I run home. I went back to school because I was living in San Diego at the time. And I wrote her a letter and said, look, this is who I am. Believe me, I have looked in the mirror and said, why am I this way? But it's who I am and it's who I want to be. And, I had thought about taking my own life. And like, it was just, we're told that we're not okay if we're different. And, so I wrote this letter to her. She photocopied my letter, wrote her own letter of how much she loved me and nobody better treat me any different, and sent it to my whole family. Like people I hadn't seen in years. And it wasn't that, I think she's now become like my fiercest ally and advocate. Because I think she thought about her own experience as a woman of color growing up in El Paso, Texas, where when she got on the bus, it said colored and Mexicans in the back. And it was Mexican, right? She had to write in the back of the bus. And so she kind of compared her own struggle with the struggle of LGBTQ people. And she has like totally, I learned how to organize from her. I learned what it meant to stand up for who I was from her. And I think she went on, because she had her own journey, right? At the same time, she's become my like fiercest advocate and ally, like I said, and calls me and asks me about things. Is always pestering me if I'm going to bring somebody home, after me to have a baby now. And I'm like, I'm getting too old for that. But she's just become very transformational. And then, she's been my entire life, like my touchstone, right? So, she taught me how to jump rope. She taught me how to dance, right? And I, like that, she's just been with me on this entire journey. And in that moment where I felt like I was losing it, right? She reinforced her love for me in a way that through her own process really kind of buoyed me and lifted me up. And so, and because she did that, the rest of my family fell in line. And I have a really great relationship with my family as a result of it. And then there have just been other people along the road who took a chance on me. Like the training that I went to, the reason I went to it was because the executive director of the Pride organization, where I was a volunteer, said, hey, you should come with me to this thing. And I was like, okay. And I went and I met people from the task force and they talked about this program and I applied and I got it. And it just like, and there's someone who works at the LA LGBT Center named Kurt Shepard, who at the time was working at the task force and did their campus organizing project and encouraged me to apply, right? Like if I hadn't received those kinds of like small words of encouragement, I would have never been able to do all of this stuff. And it, I think it's the small things, the small pieces of encouragement, the small pats on the back, right? The conversations that you have that you don't know are going to lead to something bigger, and they eventually do. Like so there are lots of people in my life who have done that and who have really pushed me in that direction and who've been incredibly supportive. I think as queers, we may not have invented the concept of chosen family, but we certainly have perfected it. And that the people that are in our lives, whether they're related by blood or not, who we call family, are very important. And, I have, when my grandmother asked me how come I don't have any kids, I was like, oh, abuelita, I have a lot of kids. They may not be my, from my body. But, I think, we come across folks, we take folks in, we build each other up. And, I have a lot of folks who, call me mother, who are of all genders.
Right.
And nobody calls me daddy, though. So I'm getting older, my gray hair, that could happen soon. But it's, just that kind of concept of being there for other people. Like people have held the door open for me. It is my responsibility to hold the door open for others.
That's beautiful. What practices or rituals or teachings do you think has been the most beneficial for you?
Well, I love mindfulness practice. I learned it at this place called Rockwood Leadership Institute, where I've been a fellow. And every session starts with a couple things. When you start the week, you kind of bring an artifact, something that's important to you. So in one of my trainings, I brought the picture of my cohort from 1995. Why that's meaningful to me. But we start every session with mindfulness practice, which is just a moment, right? To center yourself, to take in some deep cleansing breaths, to, hold a soft gaze. And people say clear your mind. I don't necessarily think of it as clearing my mind as much as it is organizing my thoughts. And understanding what's important to me about being in that particular place at that particular time. But it has really centered me. And I do it every day. I do it in the morning when I get up. I do it at night. And at night, it takes a little bit different. I think some people would say, like, I pray at night. But to me, it's kind of it's more of a kind of review of the day and what I kind of want to do next and kind of what I hope for. Yeah. And it has been really special and positive for me to be able to do that. And it really, it took me a minute to kind of get used to doing it, but now I can't really live without it. And it is like, it's just a few minutes. It's not even like I'm not sitting down for half an hour and doing anything. It is really just a moment that is to myself, that is about me, and that is about the day that I'm about to go through. And it has really been very positive for me around that. And spending time, sorry about that. And spending time, just having a chance to retreat from the busyness of the world.
Yeah.
On myself.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that, because when in CIJ, we teach mindfulness, and meditation is a part of the course. And for people who've never meditated, that's what I try and bring them back to, like this idea of being mindful of just sitting for a moment and collecting your thoughts and just being with yourself. So I love being
conscious of the breath in your body, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and what that does for you. Like, one of the things I love to do is I love to scuba dive. And I love to scuba dive because it is something I can't do alone. I need to do it with somebody else. But it's completely nonverbal. Like, I can't talk when underwater. But I am most conscious of my breath in my body when I'm there and surrounded by the vastness that is nature and that is the universe, and that in, you know, a tiny like square inch on a coral reef is a complete universe of life. Like that to me is the like it's just the ultimate moment to be present, and it has helped me throughout my life, both personal and career wise, to just take that moment to reflect and be in it, right? And to be present and to do that with other people. Like, you know, the mindfulness is one thing, but it has really taught me that when I am with other people, that I am present with them, right? That they're so easy to be distracted on your phone, on your computer, right? Whatever. There's so many distractions, but to be mindful and to be present with people that you care about, I think is the ultimate gift.
Beautiful. I love that. Amen. You preaching my language. there's nothing more humbling and nature. It's like the ultimate like present maker. You know, we realize like how small we are when we are in this, you know, like, and you talk about scuba diving. I remember snorkeling in Santorini and feeling like, oh my God, you know, like this is just like magnificent. I was like the most quiet that I'd ever experienced. It was just such being in the moment, and nature does that. The same thing happens when I go snowshoeing. It's just like,
oh yeah. When I've gone skiing and I'm on the trail by myself, like the silence is deafening. Like it is, you're like, what's happening? Right. It is just like, and just to be in like, to see the majesty of all of that it's breathtaking.
It's breathtaking. Yeah. All right. So let's talk music. You were talking, so power anthem, you're feeling shitty, you're feeling like beat up a little bit or something, and you need something. What do you go to? What's your go-to power anthem?
My go-to power anthem is Soul Survivor by Beverly Knight. I love that song. I have a group of friends who we love and adore that song. And it's not that old. It's, you know, a little old, but that like that when that backbeat comes on and I hear it, I just am like at another level. But it is just like a, you know, like she's one of the lyrics that she says, I'm a soul survivor. I'm a soul reviver. Like this, like, yes, right? Yeah. Like my fan goes crazy, right? I'm nuts. That song, when that song comes on, but it makes me happy. Like if I need a little pick me up, yeah, I throw it on and it puts me in a better place.
So speaking of happiest, what do you feel makes you happiest and why?
I am the most happy when I am surrounded by people I care about on the dance floor. And I know that might sound like, I think some people know that I love to dance, right? And that I love to be on the dance floor, living my life on the dance floor. But when I am in that moment that I'm surrounded by people I care about, and you know, we're just enjoying that moment together, it's liberating. And in particular in queer spaces, it is, you know, it is, there are outward expressions. Like people make fun of certain parties, like all they are is like drug induced, blah, 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 whatever. But I don't see them that way. I see them as, and I see them the way I see, like when I produce the Creating Change conference, or when I produce a space that is empowering and that people can come together and for the first time they let go of the things that we carry around with us all the time as queer people. You know, if we reach out and touch our partner's hand or lean in for a kiss and we're in public, is someone going to call us a name? Is someone going to beat us up? Is someone going to murder us? Those are real things that go through our heads. And in those moments when you let that go and you're on the dance floor and you're just surrounded by this loving group of people who that's who you want to be with, like those moments are, I feel very fortunate to have had many, many of those moments. And like when I want to think about where I want to be, like that's where I want to be, right? Like, all the political work and everything I do, all that, my family, all that is very important to me. But if I want to go to my happy place, right, that is the happy place that I want to be. Like I remember even, like I just remember moments, right, where they're just fun, like you popping out in a wig with a white bird and a beard. Or I think we were at, I forget where we were at, White Party, or we were in Miami, but it wasn't Winter Party. And there was like a group of us dancing. You, me, Stephen Massey, who else was there? Me, and maybe Mickey was spinning. But it was just those kinds of like, you're just in the moment and you're in the moment with each other and you're having a good time. And like, it's just, that's kind of what makes me happy. And, people, as I've gotten older, people are like, aren't you a little old to do this? I'm like, hell no, you are going to have to drag my cold, dead corpse off that fucking dance floor.
I agree. It's like, yeah, I mean, good music doesn't expire and the dance floor doesn't either. You know what I mean?
That's right. Like, and hey, I can still outlast most of those young things.
Yeah, you can. So what do you think that most people would be really surprised to learn about you?
Really surprised to learn about me. that I know most people will not believe this is I am really painfully shy. And that in social situations, it paralyzes me. So if I'm at Winter Party and it's my party, or I'm at Creating Change, or I'm at work and I know I'm the shit, I could talk to anybody, right? I could talk to anybody. But if I'm just somewhere and at a club and I'm there with my friends and I'm just dancing and I see someone I think I want to talk to, I won't do it. Like I get very kind of painfully shy in that regard. And so I think people would be surprised by that, and surprised that I actually enjoy spending time by myself, as social and stuff as I am. When I moved to San Francisco, I stopped traveling as much as I did before. And the thing that I loved about the travel that I did was I would often have moments where I was just by myself. And when I went to San Francisco, that wasn't the case anymore. And I was with people all the time. And so I had some flight credits and I went to Hong Kong by myself. And I was only gone from like a Thursday to a Monday, but I did it because I just wanted to be alone. Like I wanted to have some of that time to recharge and to kind of think and reflect and, just do some stuff by myself. So I think probably those are the two things people would probably be most surprised about.
So what do you feel, do you think is the biggest lesson in remixing yourself and your situations? I
think the biggest lesson is to be open to new ideas, and to try and to embrace failure.
Yeah.
Because failure, I think, is very important. I think most people shy away from it, and it causes them not to experience kind of the full everything, right? Like, one of my former jobs when I worked at the Gill Foundation in Colorado, that failure was one of our values as an organization. And I was like, what? When it was first introduced, I was like, why is that? And the Gill Foundation was founded by a software entrepreneur, and Tim Gill, he had tried several times to start a company and failed. And it wasn't until he finally got and invented what's called Quark Express that his business took off. And so he really embraced failure. He used to say that if we were not trying enough new things, then we weren't being innovative. And if we weren't failing enough, we weren't trying enough new stuff. So I really took that to heart. And I think since then, I have really tried to do things that I don't know if I'm good at or not, but I'm going to try it and see. I've tried to also adapt that to my personal life. Like getting back to earlier what I said about being shy, is there have been situations where I really tried to force myself. And I've really kind of used this like, well, if you're going to embrace failure, then it also means embracing failure in your personal life too.
Personal life too, yeah.
Right? And it's a struggle, right? It's hard. And, but I think that is really something that's important to think about, in terms of remixing your world, is like, are you trying enough new stuff? And if you're not, why are you not? And if you're afraid of failure, try to embrace it.
One of my favorite quotes from Iyanla Vanzant. Do you know who that is? So one of my favorite quotes from her is, if your dream isn't big enough to have pee running down your leg, your dream ain't big enough.
That's a good quote.
It's the truth.
That's a good one.
So fast forward.
Speaking of quotes, on my desk, I have this Oscar Wilde quote: "Be yourself. Everyone else is already
taken." Yes, that is one of my favorites. I have that in a bathroom, actually, in one of the bathrooms. Yeah, I do love that one. So, okay, fast forward 20 years from now, what is Russell doing?
Well, I don't know if I want to like retire in the traditional sense. I mean, in 20 years, I'll be in my 60s. And I want to be doing what I love. I want to be surrounded by people that I love and care about. I don't know that I'll be working like a traditional full-time job by then. But I want to be active in some way. Like I actually had a conversation recently, getting back to like these kind of moments you have with people. And we were talking about kind of their retirement age. And we were talking, somebody asked them in the group that we were in if they were going to retire. And he said, I'm never going to retire. I might do something different, but I don't ever see myself just not doing anything, right? Or just not kind of actively engaged in the community or in the things that I'm passionate about, and that it's just more of a transition. So, I mean, I think of that, and I think of like, what do I want to do next? And, and how will I get there? I mean, I think about those things, but in terms of like where I want to be in 20 years, I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by the people that I love and that love me. And I want to be engaged in something that fulfills and fills my heart.
Beautiful. So when it's all said and done and you look back on it all, what do you think it's all been about? This whole thing called life.
To steal a phrase from Oprah, I think it really is about living your best life, and that doing things that you are passionate about. And for me, making sure and doing it in service to others. I feel like as I look back, I have led a blessed life. And sure, there have been times I've struggled, and I come from a working class family, and, there are times I've fallen down, but I've gotten up. And I think that the thing that I learned from my grandparents early was that we have a responsibility to our collective community, and that our lives should be in service to that community. And so, as I look back on my life, I want to know and believe that the things and decisions that I have made are in service to that community. And it's why I do the work I do. It's why I participate in the activities I participate in, because I want to be a part of something that's bigger than me. And that I want my legacy we did this exercise last year with some of my colleagues around like, what do you want your tombstone to say, right? Or what do you want your epitaph to be? And mine was, she lived her life on the dance floor and did some good stuff too.
Yeah! And that's it. Yes, exactly. That is awesome. Well, it has been so great to have you. So is there anything else you want to share with the people that are listening and tell us what you're up to, maybe coming up?
Sure. Well, I don't know. I hope to see many of you on the dance floor at one of the many events I'll probably be at. White Party, Purple Party.
Are you going to Purple?
Yeah, I'm going to Purple.
Oh my God.
Are you going?
I wasn't going to, but now maybe I'm going to have to.
I love Purple Party.
I do. I mean, I do. You know me with Purple. That's my family.
It is a little intimate affair. I love that. Are you doing song? Are you spinning at Songkran?
No, not this year. Have you ever done that?
No, I want to go. So I want to go when you're spinning. So if you spin next year, I would
maybe next year. Because usually, so it's been 2 years since I've played. So maybe next year then. But it is incredible.
Yeah,
that would be so much fun.
Yeah, that would be so fun. So the one thing that's coming up that I'm going to be doing is on behalf of the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, I oversee the AIDS LifeCycle, which happens in early June, a 545-mile bike ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles that benefits the foundation and the Los Angeles LGBT Center. So I will be on that.
Are you riding?
I'm not riding because I have work to do around it. Right. But I'll be at camp and there the entire week. I'm really excited about it. I was on it last year, which was amazing. And this year I'll get to go on the full thing because I am working here now. But so I'll be excited. I'll be on that. So if you're on the ride or supporting the ride, look for me to say hello. I'll probably be bopping and dancing around somewhere. Or, hopefully I will see folks on the dance floor.
Yes. And we'll post, you'll give me your socials and all of that, and I'll post all of that in the show notes where everybody can find you. And
I definitely will.
All that good stuff. All right. Russell, I loved having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I love it. And I'm so glad you're doing it.
Thank you. So I will see you on a dance floor soon.
Yes, my dear. Mwah.
Bye-bye.
I love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
So there you have it, my conversation with Russell Roybal. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Perhaps something stood out to you and you'd like to share. If so, head on over to our Facebook group and let us know. I'll make sure I link all of Russell's information in the show notes so that you can follow him. Thank you so much for listening. I'm glad you spent some time with me today. And if you have any questions, feedback, or topics that you'd like to be discussed, shoot me an email at podcast@remixyourworld.com.